Good morning, potato chips. How you doing? Me, Paddy from across the shuck, and I'm going to give you another wee look at the Jack Wolf knives this morning. Nice and slow and calm now that I've got over the excitement. And I just want to, you'll see by the title, it's Jack Wolf's Knives, Laid Back Jack. Welcome to the family. And I have a little family of Wharncliffes that I'm very proud of, and they come from budget to 250 quid. So there's a lovely range of knives in here, different in their handle materials. Uh, all except for one is in the micarta, but it's a budget knife, and I want to put them together. I want to show, you know, this knife is not about just how it looks. It's about its construction. It's about the material used. It's about how good the blade steel is. This is an amazing knife at the price, and if you compare it to your modern locking knives, it's well within that region of a knife that can do so much. And I'm going to go through some of the things that I will use it for. Look, as a box cutter, there's enough thickness here for it to go through any box. Absolutely, this is a lightweight knife. It has a very beautiful and precise tip. Gorgeous. If you want to, look, this is a great way of showing you. I've done this before. Right. If you want to get in and do something like take a scalp out, let me show you. You see how sharp that tip is? Look, it's no pressure I'm putting, but it can lift the skin. You can do it with precision, and it just lifts the skin up. You can see that. So if you've got a delicate piece of work that you're trying to get round or whatever, and I mean in arts and crafts and things like that, it's beautiful. The point goes down straight away. You can see your work. You're not obscured by having a hand up here. You can see your work and you can slice down anything. Beautiful for arts and crafts. A really high-end arts and crafts knife, to be honest. Beautiful. But it'll also do all sorts of other works because it's not a shy blade. This here has an edge which is unbelievable. I would say it's somewhere around the 10,000s behind the edge, which is just fantastic. Absolutely. When you put your hand on here, it nearly feels completely flat. It's so thin and it goes so high up the blade. You really have got a very thin edge and plenty of sharpenings. But it's a sort of knife, it's so small. Look, you can hardly see the edge bevel on that there because it's so thin. You don't need to lay it back any more than absolutely necessary. It will cut through anything. But it's perfect for detailed work. And some of the detailed work that I would put it to would be this is a duck I'm going to do. This is my carving. So I haven't started yet. I'm just getting ready for it. So basswood. This is not hardwood. It's basswood. It's softwood. It's made for whittling, and this is the perfect little knife for it. Leave a little block in your car and try and draw something on it, and then cut it out. So this is this. Look how easy that slips in there. But this is controlled. I can bring it up. Can you see that? It's coming up until a point, and I can take it off. So detailed. If I want to do something at the edge or something there, look, I can just do the edge of my knife in. And if you're doing whittling, how precise you can get. Just want to just see this again. See, doing this behind the camera, it's not the best. But there you are. You can see it's got the little, there it is. You can get really precise with it, as well as just take, you can actually just take a big chunk out of the knife. It's not a weak blade or anything. It just cuts through it so easy. That's awful dangerous behind the camera looking in. I'm not going to do that again. But you get my point. This can do from the tiniest little piece of delicate arts and craft work, or I'll bash that again. Delicate piece of arts and crafts work to just everyday jobs. EDC. It's just, that's what it is, a great EDC knife. But if you're sitting in a car somewhere and the wife's not there, break a twig off a tree, you can sit and carve away from that, debark it, practice your little notches, especially for bushcraft and things like that. So this is just a real all-round knife. The handle shape is the sway back itself, where this raises up above the top of the knife blade itself. This is just a gentle incline in this one, which is lovely. Some are more pronounced, but they're definitely more for pull cuts. And it gives you that grip in a pull cut that you can do it. And you can do it with ease. Again, probably better just to show you. If I want to do this and I want to come off and I want to do this, it's controlled, because my hand's fully behind it, my finger here is below the blade, so I can just quite easily do that without cutting myself. That's the sort of precision that can do. And it doesn't have to be whittling. It's just anything that you're trying to trim down, the end of a brush handle to go into a mop, anything. It will do that with ease and with aplomb. But because it's not as badly swooped up there, it's beautiful in your hand. It's rounded here, as you see, so there's no sharp edges. You get a really good, secure grip. It's M390. It'll cut for days. But when you're doing whittling and wood and that, strop regular. Keep your knife sharp, especially if you're going to do that. Or when you get home at the end of the day, strop it. M390 will strop back and you will get an edge back on it again. You don't have to sharpen it every time it just goes off the boil. Quick strop, it'll come back again. And I've done that for years, so I do know that it works. But I do know it works with these because I've used it on the previous iteration, the sharpshooter. This I believe that the Wharncliffe's nearly job specific for I will lift this if I want to do anything that requires a delicate end but a really nice piercing, but the ability to back me up if I need to do any thicker cuts. It will do right across the board. So what have I got that's now? Did I show you that micarta is just to die for? It is beautiful micarta, and I believe this is. I actually think it's even the American micarta. It's just beautiful. The bolsters are lovely. I'm falling in love with it because it's a great work knife. Now, what have I got to compare it to? I'm just going to go through one at a time the other knives that are Wharncliffes that I have in my collection. Here's one. I mean, this is £250. Let's get the price out of the way. £250. Is that dear? It is expensive, and a lot of people can't afford that sort of money. But for those who can, I think you're getting the money's worth for it. Here's another little simple knife that everybody wants, as much as a Jack Wolf knife, the GEZ. This is the Northwoods. This is Derek Bone's design, and they call it a Bonecliff because it's like a saber Wharncliffe. Can you see that? But a beautiful knife. This is the same size as a boy's knife, a little bit smaller than the Jack Wolf, but you can see the blade difference. This is maybe not as, well, it's definitely not as thin behind the edge as this, but it's a great little work knife. It's an EDC work knife. This is one that you're going to take and use when you want definitely something more specific or just want a knife, because if a knife cuts, a knife cuts. That is the truth, isn't it? If a knife cuts, a knife cuts. So there's a beautiful one to follow down, and I'm coming down in price slowly, because I'm sure that's 200 of you. In secondary market, especially in the States, the secondary market is silly for these things. Here's another one, and here is another. This is a GEC, but this is the practical knives with the acorn shield, and this has I believe it's a 440C. Yeah, it's the 440C in this. This is a lockback. Okay, and I'm putting it in because it's such a lovely Wharncliffe, and as blade shapes go, they mostly all look the same, but isn't that just a beautiful knife in itself? This is an elk stag bone, or bone stag, I'm not sure what it is, but it's roughly the same size as the Jack Wolf knives. What's the difference with this? The steel is nowhere near as much. You get steel bolsters instead of titanium, which are integral with the liners. So again, you're adding a wee bit more. My dog's just gone mad. You're going up that in materials and execution. These are all three of these are finished to such high standards, which is why there's not a huge price difference between these and this, although you're getting a much higher blade steel, and the fit and finish is absolutely superb. Absolutely superb. I love my GECs. Now that's a Northwoods, and this one's a GEC. They're practical knives sense because you get that acorn shield. You're going to get a stainless steel, but just fantastic. These are traditional knives. This is a modern tradition, and I wanted to show just, if you take it, this bone is traditional, very traditional. This is just dyed bone, and this is nearly what I would call a modern traditional. Do you know what I mean? So they vary through all your knives that you're going to collect over the time. Although they're more modern, this could be a more modern design. this is bringing it right up to date. This is what the older type knives would have looked like. They move to Northwoods and then they go up to this type of modern, which is a very modern in materials. And that's how it sort of goes up. But it's great to have a collection where you can show blades that'll do the same jobs. And it's like everything else, just some blades will do other jobs better than the ones beside them. They'll do all sorts. You'll find a reason to use your blades after use and once you get to know your knife. But having it lying in a cupboard to me is not how you find that out. Even if you light use it, find out what it's for so that you can use your knife. Because we keep calling them tools, but if you don't use them, they're not a tool, they're an ornament. And I think to find out, you don't have to wreck the knife, but just find out how it works. Find out why an ultra thin blade edge is so much better for delicate cuts than just a very good one. And this one's maybe just not so delicate. This is more a harder use, although it's smaller, thinner. It's more of a harder use. The blade and the tip isn't susceptible to damage as these two. But that's it. But if you want something that's going to give you, here's another knife. And this was in 8CR14. This is a Brother knife. Oh, no, sorry, let me leave that. I'll leave that to last because that's the cheapest one. Here's the next one down the line. Here's a little Case Swayback. And this is one of the best knives I think Case make for their consistency. I've had quite a few of these. I know my friends who have had quite a few of them. And they come out really good fit and finish wise. It's a Swayback Jack, a Tony Bowes design for Case. This is much smaller, but it's a great little EDC knife or a secondary knife. It's a smaller blade. It's only about, I think, just under 2 inches. Stainless steel, but isn't it beautiful? But you can see how much this rises up at the back compared to the Jack Wolf knives. But because it's a small knife, it lets it curl into the bottom of your fingers and works really adequate and is also very good for pull cuts. So again, but you can see that, let's just see, we're getting down to, look at the difference in the blade stock. Yeah. So this Jack Wolf knife isn't ultra thick at all. It's just not ultra thick. And look at the tips. Let me get them up side by side. The Jack Wolf probably comes down to easily the same as this little Case, but you've got a much bigger reach and a much bigger blade. Beautiful. So we're just coming down in price. These are, about £80? Something like that. We're coming down again and down to about £50. And here's the Rough Rider. An absolutely fantastic knife in micarta, stainless steel. It's D2 blade, absolutely easy open. It's just a fantastic piece of work. There's no doubt about it. Fit and finish, really good. Is it as good as these ones? No, but it's very, very close to a Case. And I mean, that's, they're £50, £80, but this is very, very close, if not better than most Cases that come out that I know of. But it's a beautiful knife. It's just a big burly. It's a bit thicker. It's not as, it doesn't have that ultra fine tip that the Jack Wolf knives would have. Blade thickness, probably, I would say there's not much in it. There you are. I think the Jack Wolf at the top is a little bit thicker, but it's a full hollow grind, which is the amazing difference. This is quite thick behind the edge. Compared to this, it's still a fine, it's still okay as a pocket knife. There's nothing wrong with this knife, and it will do an awful lot of the poking jobs. It'll slice bits of paper, but it's less refined than the higher end knives at the top of the scale. But a fantastic knife. Can't get over how much that's a really fantastic knife for its price. Quite a big knife too, if you can see. It's up with the GEC knives up there. And the last was the one that I hadn't showed there. That was the Brother knife. This is about £30, £35. I'm not sure what it is. This has got carbon fibre. It has a lovely blade. The blade shape and style is very, very close to the Jack Wolf. This is £35. It's a good fit and finish. It's not brilliant, but it's really, really good. And for the price you're paying, you're getting great fit and finish. This is a lockback as well, much like the GEC up there. And I wanted to do a wee bit of both because this is modern. It's 8CR14 MOV. Absolutely fine for a little pocket knife. I have no worries that would get me through most of my day's work. It'll get me through most of my days, full stop. It's a great little knife. It doesn't have that precise tip, so it's a bit more for the rougher, harder use tasks that you're not going to want to worry about your knives. These last two, they're in a price range where you're not going to worry too much. Now, 50 quid is not cheap. I'm never going to say that because that's just not me. I mean, I'm on a pension too, so it's £50 is not cheap by any means, and I'm not running the price down. But at £30, £35, whichever they are, I'm not sure what they are at the moment. But this is another great Wharncliffe. Although the bottom two are not quite up to the standard of the top as a whole. But to be honest with you, when you put them in hand and when you use them and cut with them, the Jack Wolf knives is just superior in its fit finish than all of them. The fit and finish in these is fantastic. Case can be a bit dodgy sometimes, but the Swayback Jack is one of their better ones I've found over the years. But this is precision. It is perfectly put together. You have a guarantee from Ben. If anything goes wrong with it or whatever, you just send it to him. He will sort you out straight away. He's a personable man. He's constantly on Facebook, Instagram, chasing up. He wants to hear what you think of the knives. Don't criticize until you've tried one. That's all I can say. I know it's too dear to pay for a knife, and I myself in the beginning, look, I was never going over 100 ever. I was never going over 30 at one stage. So, things do progress. Just be open-minded. If you can afford one, buy one of the patterns that you like. I know this is a very popular pattern for a lot of people because of its utility. It's so good as an all-round knife. So I hope that interests you. There's my set of 6 Wharncliffes that I love. And I am so happy. I am so happy that this fits in and excels at what all these can do. But it's modern, traditional. I still will always be, much more of a bone man, a jig bone, a stag bone. But this I can't deny. It's just a fantastic piece of cutlery. A tool. A great tool for so many different tasks. If you can, try it. If you can't, someday, you just never know. Things will change. It changed for me. It can change for you. You never know. But look, thanks very much for listening. I hope I haven't gone on too much. But I just wanted to say, there is knives that are cheaper, that are up near close to the same price as it. You have to get them in your hand. You have to feel them. For me, and a lot of this is my reputation as a YouTuber. I find that a fantastic knife. I think, I still am of the belief that 100 to 150 is dear, but I've got ones that are above it. Not because I want to show off, because I wanted to feel the difference when you go up. Is there a difference in a more expensive knife? And to be honest with you, in my findings, a lot of the times, in fact, most of the times, yes, there is a difference, and you feel it straight away. That's how I feel about Jack Wolf knives. Take care. Paddy's gone. Cup of tea time. Have a nice day.